Hello everyone, welcome and welcome back to my channel. I am Thlologelo Promise Rampa and this is Relocate to Australia with Promise. If you are looking to relocate to Australia from anywhere in this world, particularly if you're in South Africa and you don't know how to start, you don't know where to go and you just don't know how you're going to get that information, you are at the right place at the right time at the right channel. So don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, tell me what you're going through with your process of relocating, and let's see how we can help you guys to do this thing that I've done also. Today we're going to be talking about how long it has taken me and my family to relocate from South Africa to Australia, and the challenges that we went through, what we've learned during that process, and the things that you can take out of our journey to feed into your journey and for you to not make the same mistakes we did. So yeah, let's get straight into it. So as some of you might know by now, if you have watched my previous video, especially my most famous video about why we left South Africa, our journey started in September 2016 after my husband got shot. It was an attempted hijacking, did not go so well, so he ended up in hospital with a bullet wound. And then there was a family friend that was returning from Australia to come and pick up her kids, and I was staying at their house. So it was during a conversation that I had with her about what I was going through. I was unemployed and everything was just not going my way. And she was like, well, you're a social worker, your husband is a vet. They're looking for those people in Australia. Let's go, girl. And I was gone. So me and my husband started the conversations about relocating to Australia in the hospital after his surgeries and all of that, because we spent, I think, about a month in the hospital. So we had a lot of time without the kids and all of the distractions and everything to have a discussion about this. And for the first time, because you know, when you've been with someone for a lot of years, you do discuss these things, but you're never really too serious until there's something that pushes you to say, okay, now it's time for you to act and do something. And it was, I think also the shooting and everything that was happening came at the right time, because I think and I always tell my husband this, you have to take the bullet for us. Because maybe if it had not happened, maybe we wouldn't have had that discussion about actually coming to Australia. So we did know we want to leave, but we just did not know where to go. And that's the other thing about relocating. You really need to know where you want to go. Have a targeted place where you're like, okay, this is the country that I'm going to. And sometimes during the journey, you might have to, as I've explained in my other videos, you might have to go to other countries that are much more easier to access as an African, then build your way up to like your Australia or whatever place that you want to go, but it's difficult to get in. So when we found out that as South Africans, it is much more easier for us to get in than other people like in other African countries, we were like, okay, that is a good advantage. Let's make the most of it. And that's what I'm going to tell you guys as well. Like, if you're South African at this point in time, in 2021, you are sitting at the best position, because a lot of people that are coming from other countries have to do other things before they can get employment here. And we don't know if that's going to change in the next coming years. That's why you need to make sure that you make that decision in time, so that if anything happens in the next 10 years where they're like, hey, we don't want South Africans anymore, at least when you're part of the group that came in before that, because these things change all the time and you never know why and the reasons why. It's international relation stuff. You never know what they got into a meeting and they fought. Now all of a sudden they're saying, well, we don't want you because you don't want to sign this, or you don't want to do this, or we don't trust you no more. So anything can happen. So if you really do want to make changes in your life and you want something that's really gonna put your life in a certain place, and you feel like wherever you are right now is not giving you that, I'm telling you, you need to make that decision. There were a lot of things that we needed to learn about this process, and getting that information was not easy at all. That's why it took us 2 years. It's actually a bit over 2 years, because when you start counting from the actual start of the conversation, because it has to start with a thought first. It starts with a thought. Hey, this English thing, thought. It starts with a thought where you're like, okay, it's a thought, it's something I'm thinking. You have a conversation about it and you actually get to the working of it. So we really started working on this in 2017. And when we started working on this, it was more of like information gathering. And the other thing that happened was I went back and forth with a lot of relocation agents, because they wanted a lot of money and I did not have that money. And that's why it was very important also for me to have this channel, because when you then talk to an agent and they discourage you that, hey, You will never leave that country without us helping you. You feel very discouraged, and they don't even give you not even one information about where to go and what to do. And then it's part of their job, that's fine. But the thing is, if you cannot afford it, then you're already at a disadvantage. And I've already spoken about this. But that's what happened with us. We were at a disadvantage because we could not afford an agent. So I had to do everything myself. I had to gather all the information possible to make sure that I know what I'm getting myself into. And I'm telling you, it was not easy. I spent 2 years on the immigration website, literally. And it was not 2 years like every day I go in there. But there was times I'm like, oh my God, I'm so stuck. I don't know what to do. And something was like, go onto that website and read. Go read. That's why I know this process, because I was persistent. I spent 2 years literally on that website. And it's only later when I realized that even this agent was going to do what I'm doing myself. I was like, yes, sir, these people, they love money. But then honestly, I spent 2 years consistently on the Australian website in order for me to gain all the information that I needed for me to do this. Of course, it was not only just spending time on the website, it was also kind of like getting into chat groups and other places that people were talking about relocation. That really helped, even though I was not having one-on-one conversations with them, but just them reading their questions. Like, you know how sometimes you go on Google and you type something and then it pops up this chat room or something like that where people have gathered and are asking questions. I spent a lot of time on those kind of platforms as well to kind of see what people are going through, and then to read and see, oh, this one has got a similar story like me. And then people will be commenting and saying, well, this is what you can do, and this, and then you just filter the nonsense and you take whatever you take. That's what I used to do. It was so hard. It was so hard. So I had to learn how to navigate this whole thing myself. And I know people are looking for like a quick thing that's gonna be like quick, and then I'm going to then get into this, I'm gonna ask this. This process does not work like that. You have to literally go all over the place and all over the show, gathering information, doing what is needed, being informed in order for it to work. So these are the things that you need to budget for, right? During your relocation journey. You need to budget time to make that decision. And you must make it with your heart, with your brain, with your soul, with your God, with your ancestors. You make that decision. You're like, you know what, this one is made. There's no other. This is where I am going. And you don't even negotiate it with anyone. So you need to first budget time to make that decision, and that is the decision you've made. There's no other. Budget that time. Number 2, budget time to prepare. So preparing means you gathering the information that you need, all the information that you need. You need to know what you're getting yourself into. And that's not going to come one day. It's going to come like this. Like it can come, you can get information today and then get new information after 3 months, get new information after 6 months, so budget that time also for that new information to come in for you to then make decisions along the way. Fine. You must budget time to gather your documents. All your documents that you're going to need for your skills assessment day, for your English test day, for everything, your medicals, everything. You need to budget that time. And also with your skills assessment, and I've talked about this in my previous videos. If you have not watched that yet, it is my episodes about the skills assessment, how long and where to find it, and all of that. I've already discussed it. So with the skills assessment, you must know that you need to budget time for a response. So you're going to send all your documents and they're going to process them. They have different processing times for social workers. Unfortunately, it is 6 months. I'm not too sure if that has changed, but it is 6 months for you to get your response back. For some people, they can get it within a month, 2 months, depending on your qualifications and which organization you're going to be using to get your skills assessment done. So I would say budget 6 months, because you just never know what's going to happen. And sometimes maybe they might be like back and forth where they're like, we need this kind of document, please send it back, or please send us this document, please do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So just budget that 6 months of the year to then address those issues if they are going to be there. Fine. After that, it's then budgeting time for looking for a job, because you can look for a job even when you are not yet in Australia. And that is the best way. For me, I feel that is the best way, because at least you get to get a feel. And I feel like it's practice. Because these things, they need practice. So you apply for a job, they reject you. You apply for another one, they reject you. You look, okay, what is it with my CV? You change it. You do an interview, they don't hire you. Okay, what is it that I could have worked on that interview? It's practice. So that also you can budget for 3-4 months. depending on how lucky you are. There are some people who just do one interview, they get in. But with my husband, he went through a lot of interviews. A lot. We had even lost count. There was a time when he does an interview, we feel very positive about it. We're like, yeah, this one, we got the job. They come back, we're like, no, well, we can't consider you. We can't take you for whatever reason. There was one that he had applied for in Victoria. The lady was happy to have him. The problem was she was not yet registered with immigration to sponsor someone to come to Australia. So that failed because of that. So you need to budget time. And also when you hit these stumbling blocks where you have now applied for a job and you think it's going to go so well and they tell you, well, no, we can't take you, don't give up. Do not give up. That's not what God had prepared for you. That's not what your ancestors have prepared for you. So you just continue applying. As long as you know where you are going, don't let anything derail you. Do not allow anything to derail you. Just trust in the process and tell yourself, you know what? God and my ancestors have prepared something for me that side. All I just need to do is to work hard to make sure that I get it. That's it. So you have to budget that time where you're going to be applying for jobs, the rejection, and when you get rejected, bounce back quickly. Don't spend too long depressed and all of that, because that's gonna waste your time. So bounce back quick, bounce back. When they reject you, just pray and say, God, thank you so much. If this was not meant for me, thank you. Go on to the next one. Don't feel like it's personal. Don't feel like, hey, you are cursed or something. Hey, Janine, you are lawyered. No one is lawyering you. That's not something that God and your ancestors had prepared for you. Try to gravitate towards what they have prepared for you. That's it. Things that you need to also budget time for is you actually deciding, what am I going to do with my things in South Africa or wherever you are? Am I going to sell them? Budget time to sell things. If you are going to be selling things, knowing and preparing, okay, this is what my life is going to be now. So what am I getting rid of and what am I keeping? What am I shipping? All those kind of things. Make those decisions real quick. Budget time for that. And also budget time for you to handle your affairs if you need to leave a job and all those kind of things. Budget time for that. So it could take you a year, it could take you 2 years, it can take you 1.5 years, it can take you just 6 months, depending on how lucky you are. And at this moment, obviously because of COVID, you can't budget nothing now because nobody knows. Nobody knows when things are going to go back to normal. But my advice to you right now is that start preparing. So what I mean by start preparing is start the initial process, that process of you deciding, this is what I want, I'm certain. I'm watching Promise right now on YouTube because I have decided Australia is where I am going. Don't even negotiate it. After you've done that, then move on to the process of you gathering information. And as I'm telling you guys, spend a lot of time on the Australian Home Affairs website. You will not regret it. And I'm so glad that I spent 2 years on that website because I got to learn a lot. And as I've explained to you guys, the reason why it took 2 years for us is because we were going through a lot of life things, during that time. It was rough. It was the worst. It was so rough. I don't want to lie. But looking back, I'm grateful for all of those things that I went through because now I'm like, I really do appreciate being where I am right now. And I really do appreciate going through that because it has made me strong. Hey, I'm gymmed. I am gymmed. I'm very strong because of those things that happened during those 2 years, 2017, 2018. Yes. Yeah. Those 2 years. It was very difficult. But I made it through. I made it out. 2019, January, we were on a plane to Australia. I always believe in this thing that, in life, you might be going through something, but it is for greater good. Something good is going to come out of it. So I spent 2 years on that website. It was daunting. It was exhausting. It was tiring. Sometimes I would read one visa 5 times just to make sure I've read it right. Because, English sometimes out the window. Just to make sure, this thing that I'm reading is the thing that I'm reading. So I would spend a lot of time going in and out. But that has really helped me because now today I've got a YouTube channel where I'm talking about the website. So the 2 years did not go to waste. I learned something from that process and I am also teaching it now because I have done it. And I feel like maybe that was God saying, because I feel like sometimes, God put you through these things so that you can then feed into somebody else's dream. The reason why I'm saying that, imagine I afforded an agent and the agent did everything. Where would I be now? What would I be talking about? Nothing. So I spent 2 years on that website because God wanted me to get this information. My ancestors were like, hey, take this information because there's somebody out there who's going to need this information. And you're the only person that's going to be there to tell them this information like you do. So that's why I'm thankful for the 2 years that I spent on that website. It was painful, but it was worth it. It was for greater good at the end of the day. And it was, of course, for greater good because I am here. It was for greater good because I am here. I'm in Australia. It was worth it. Painful, but worth it. And this is the thing that I will tell you guys. Even with you, whatever reason is pushing you to leave wherever you are, to go to a country outside of your own, right? Whatever that reason is, let that be your fuel so that you know and you remember. And I've said this, so that you know and it keeps you persistent and it keeps you consistent because you know you don't have any other alternative but to leave. That's how we felt. We did not have any other choice. We felt like we had just been pushed to a corner and there's nothing that we can do because we had tried. I had gotten my degrees. I had a master's degree, but I felt so useless. I was stuck. I felt so worthless. I was like, what was the use? Because you feel like you've ticked all the boxes now, universe, why are you not responding like you're supposed to? But I always believe that if I had found employment in South Africa, maybe I wouldn't have been here. I would have been very comfortable. So God and my ancestors were leading me here because I came here and now I'm good. I'm good. I feel like I'm my best and I'm at my best. And I'm very thankful and grateful for having been unemployed, for having it gone through all the things that I went through. And the 2 years of struggle, I really do thank God for it. Because if it was not for it, I would have not appreciated this journey like I am right now. So yes, you can budget a year. But again, it also depends on the visa that you have applied for, right? So with a permanent residency visa, it can take anything from a month to 6 months to 10 months to a year. For us, it took 6 months from the time that we have applied for it until we got it. We actually got our visa in May. Yes, we got it in May 2019. So now it's been 2 years, almost 2 years. It's going to be almost 2 years of being permanent residents in Australia. May has actually been a very good month for us in this family. We love May. May must just continue being good. So yes, we got our permanent residency visa in May after applying for it in like December of 2018. So 2019, that's when we got a permanent residency visa. So for some people it might take lesser time, for some people it might take more than 6 months, really depending on your situation, your qualifications, your points, and a whole lot of things. So with the permanent residency visa, from the time of after you've applied for it, budget anything up to 2 years because your EOI expires after 2 years. I think it is 2 years. We will talk about it once we get into the whole discussion about a PR. For now, I just wanted you guys to kind of have an idea of time frames and what to expect so that you can budget time. And it is very important to budget time. Reason being, if you're going to be pursuing something like a permanent residency visa, if you're someone in your 40s, hey, things gonna have to move fast. Things are gonna have to move very fast because of the age limits and all of that. But if you're younger, you still do have time. But as I've also explained to you guys, things change all the time. With relocation, you can never be too sure. Sometimes they change points. Sometimes they change their requirements. Sometimes they change the ages. Sometimes they've moved this country from being top to being bottom. Sometimes they've moved this country from being bottom to being top. Coming to relocation because of these international relations, don't. So anything can happen. Use this opportunity right now when you've got it. If you are presented an opportunity right now where you can see a gap and you say, this one, man, here I can get. Use it now and make the decision quickly. Make the decision quickly so that you can get onto the action. So that's that about the time frames and how long you should expect to relocate to Australia. And as I said, it is not set in stone. You cannot say it's 1 year, it's 5 years, it's 10 years. It can be anything from a year to 10 years. There are some people who have been doing this thing for 10 years and they are very persistent. They're like, yay, this is something I want to see happen. This is something that I want for my life. So for me, my advice is don't even budget time. Just tell yourself, I know the end goal. I know where I'm going. I know the end goal. And I just need to now start navigating there. So even if it takes me 5 years, 15 years, I don't care. I am going there. You must not even negotiate it with yourself. You must just be like, hey, this is what needs to be done. I'm going to do it so that I can get here. you win in life. The other thing that also affects your relocation journey and how long it will take is the finances that are involved. And I've already spoken about how much you're going to need for this relocation journey. If you have not yet watched that video, I'm going to put a link in my description for you guys to watch, because it is very important to know also how much is going to cost you this thing, because it's expensive. And that's the thing that you also have to budget for, because then if you cannot gather money like when it's needed, you need to know, okay, how long is it going to take me to get that money? And you need to know when you need to get that money and how much you're going to need. So that's another thing that you need to budget for. And do not focus on what it is that you do not have, because the more you focus on that, you will be without. But if you decide to focus more on what you have, then you will have abundance. That is so true, because when I look at my journey, if I had focused on the fact that I was unemployed, I did not have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I did not have the money to do this whole relocation thing, I wouldn't have been here. But I decided to focus on the fact that I do have the qualifications, I do have a way of getting into this country, and I can do it by doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I used the resources that I had and the little that we had as a family to make it happen and make it a possibility. And as I said to you guys, when it comes to money, if you need to make some lifestyle changes in order for you to afford this, you're gonna have to do that. If you're gonna need to ride a bicycle and take back that car so that the car installments can fund this thing, you might have to do that. And trust me, this is one of those things that you really have to invest in. It is an investment far better than Bitcoin. I'm joking. Unless it's a scam. But yes, it is an investment. It is something that you invest in. It is life changing, and you will reap the rewards at the end of the day. Trust me, the money that you put in will be returned to you tenfold. So do not focus on all the negatives that are going on in your life right now. Try to be positive as you can. And I know that sometimes it's very hard. It's very hard when you're going through the most and someone tells you, no, be positive. Hey, it's difficult, I know. But try to push through. You know, when you're going through something horrible, don't be stuck in it and don't stay in it and sit in it and think it's going to go away. You need to go through it. So go through it as best as you can. And don't forget your vision. Don't forget, if this is something that you want, it's supposed to be on your vision board. It's supposed to be on your goals. It's supposed to be something that you meditate on and think about all the time. You must know, you must even think, all your energy around you must be Australia. When you see Australian flag, you like. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. We will be back again next week. Every time I say we, I'm like, who's we? Promise? It's me and my other promises. So take care, you guys. I'll see you again next week. Take care.